Hi, it's Danny Borris again, and this video represents number 21 in the collection that represents my hobby. If you like the videos and the collection, please subscribe. The motivation, believe me, when you get to 21 videos in and you're still going, is quite necessary. It is my personal collection and it will be available for sale, so I can be reached by interested parties at danielborris@yahoo.ca. The first grouping in this video shows a Blenheim miniatures camp scene and wagons. The camp scene is interesting. As a kid, I always wanted tents for my model soldiers. My father made me some metal ones. He was a plater, so he made them in a shipyard, and that was fine. But what we see here is what I really wanted. I wanted cloth tents. The scene shows the lads relaxing over a cup of tea. It comprises one tent, one campfire set of 6 pieces, 4 mules, 2 boxes, and 4 wagons. The next set is intended to show the Scottish toy soldier through time. I don't mean through history, I mean through the evolution, if you like, of the manufactured figures. Every manufacturer and every type of figure has a place in my collection. This grouping is an example and an attempt to show the degree of variety of the Highlanders that have been produced over the years by the various manufacturers. Going furthest back, there is a figure in the foreground that was produced by Carmen with a distinctive round base. Then we have the Britain's Black Watch hollow cast shown in the box charging, and they are of superior quality despite their age. There are 6 kneeling firing figures by Blenheim miniatures in front of those. Next we have a set you can compare the Black Watch to at the charge. They are by Imperial miniatures from New Zealand, and along with their colonel you'll notice there's quite a difference in the, I would say, skill of the designer and sculptors that made the original William Britain's Black Watch and the Imperial figures. I'm not offended by the Imperial figures. I tend to just recognise that the Britain's figures are better. We have front line figures from the Crimea and the Thin Red Line, and an 8 figure set by Tradition, 1 each, covering all the major Scots regiments during the Victorian period. Finally, we have a grouping from King and Country's Black Watch as they stood during the American Revolution. As always, King and Country do a superb job. The total figures in this grouping, 42 foot, 1 mounted. Next we have Donald Featherstone's second frame in my collection of the British Napoleonics. A lot of good photography here. The frame looks quite magnificent, right down to the command figures. This being the second group from Donald's collection representing the British. This time their allies represent the Spanish and the Portuguese, so a bit more reminiscent of what you would expect to see in the wars during the Peninsular campaign. There are a total of 346 foot and 134 mounted figures. Although I purchased all of the artillery and gun crews from Donald, the guns never did show up, and so I have replaced them with generic pieces. This is true for all of the Featherstone figure groupings. The manufacturers represented include Les Higgins, Garrison, Minifig, Old Minifig. The Highlanders seem to be Staden 30mm figures. The next grouping shows the charge of the Light Brigade. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, into the Valley of Death Road to 600. A total debacle unclear orders, and an unintended cavalry charge. The Light Brigade charged the Russian artillery at the Battle of Balaclava. 600 men and horses of the Light Brigade were slaughtered. This small gathering of figures attempts to capture the moment. The Lancers, the Light Dragoons, and the Hussars charge the guns. Honour and glory by the men and horses, carnage caused by the stupidity of the leadership. The figures are from front-line miniatures. This next grouping shows the magazines that help support the hobby. The magazines carry the history of the collector and of the hobby itself. I'm sucked in by the history, and I envy the days gone by when new boxes of Britain's figures could be bought over any toy shop counter. I bask in those days through these magazines. The group consists of the Old Toy Soldier newsletter from Volume 2, which was in 1977, to Volume 22, 1999. Then glossier Old Toy Soldier magazines from Volume 23 to 25 and beyond. Over the quarter century of this publication, there is in my collection more than 300 issues. Then there is the Toy Soldier and Model Figurine magazine. From number 1 forward, approximately 100 issues are in my collection. Where the hell did number 2 go? Articles written by Daniel Borris appear in Toy Soldier and Model Figure magazine, August 2016, number 99, under A Collector's Story. And in Miniature War Games, July 2014, issue 375, in memory of Donald Featherstone, collecting Featherstone. This next grouping shows the Allied and German High Command in 1944. At the time of this being at the time of the Normandy landings, the diorama has them separated from each other by a direction sign for Caen. On the Allied side, we have Montgomery, Bradley, a British NCO, and a Scots tenor drummer. On the German side, we have Hitler and his dog. I presume the dog to be completely innocent. We have Goebbels, Rommel, and an additional marshal carrying a marshal's baton. The figures are king and country. There are 10 pieces including the road sign and the innocent dog. The next set shows more Blenheim figures on parade. As you can tell if you've been following all of my videos, I have a massive collection of Blenheim. They were my crutch when William Britain's holocaust was so hard to get. And in this grouping we see a band of the Life Guard and the Blues and the Royals on foot. The band of the Life Guard shows carol drummers, trumpeters, and the Blues and the Royals on foot show both of these regiments of the Household Cavalry at attention. Here we have another skirmish between the North and the South in the Civil War. We have in the Confederate side the Louisiana Tiger Zouaves, and they're fending off sharpshooters from Verdun Sharpshooting Regiment, soldiers from the Iron Brigade, and some Union Zouaves. To the rear you can see an Irish priest preaching and preparing some of the soldiers for the battle from the Irish Brigade. This last set, Yorktown, is produced by William Britons and represents the assault and capture of the redoubt at Yorktown in 1781. This signalled the last major battle in the American Revolution, after which Cornwallis surrendered himself and the British Army to George Washington. There are 4 major sections of the redoubt and 14-foot figures depicting the assault.